Okay, so welcome as always on a Friday afternoon to Citrus Connect. It is my honour and privilege to introduce you Karlina, as always, who is my co-host on a Friday. But today we have a really, really special guest. You know, Karlina and I were thinking about what the topics is that we need to discuss at the moment for to help you, you know, in your kind of career or life. And mindset was one that really came up for both of us, because it's something that we've had to adjust personally. So we know that it's something that people are doing globally right now, as we are in a kind of global crisis. But it's our mindset which will define how we come out of it. So it is my absolute honour. I am so happy that we have my soul sister, Libby Wallace, in the house today. So let me introduce Libby. Libby is a business coach, a healer, an event host, and a co-founder of lots of social initiatives, such as the Self-Wealth Project and Leaders Making a Difference. And she's also a co-founder of a charity, Hope to Fam. So if we get an opportunity, I would love, Libby, for you to tell us more about those projects. They sound super, super interesting. Libby has a science degree in psychology. She's trained in shamanism, leadership and mentorship. And her grounded approach to life and business uniquely combines science and spirituality in a really holistic, practical way. So Libby is joining us from Bali today, tropical Bali, where she lives with her husband Dame. And Libby spends her time sharing her soul's mission and message of purpose, self-wealth, and impact in the world. So welcome, Libby, to Citrus Connect and our Friday episode. Yeah, I'll hand it over to Karlina.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. It's awesome to be here. I'm super excited for this conversation. And I love that there is literally an opportunity for us to practice our mindset when we have these technology.
I know, right?
Yeah, you know, last week we started this change topic with talking about how did previous pandemics impact society. And in particular, we talked about how did they impact the layout of cities, buildings, workspaces. And so we thought, well, the logical continuation of this topic would be to talk about, well, how do you, Libby, from your practical experience during the last few months, how do you see, how is this impacting our temples, our bodies as a temple, as a house where we live in, where our soul lives in, right? Speaking your terminology, probably. So yeah, what have you noticed? What changes do you see in people's mindsets right now?
Yeah, I love this question so much. And this is really, it's almost like what's happening at the moment really illustrates to us on an individual, you know, on an individual level, but also when we look at the communities that we're part of the businesses that we're running, or the jobs that we're looking for, or, you know, whatever environment we're finding ourselves in right now. It's almost like what's happening, especially with our bodies, with all the stress that's coming up, with all of the, you know, like these emotions that are so present for every single one of us, regardless of how much inner work we have been doing, regardless of how much success we have created. Every single one of us is going through some sort of very important shift right now. And one of the biggest things that I've really observed is this opportunity that we have to work with our bodies, to work with our minds, to utilize this time as an opportunity for us in our growth journeys as leaders, as, you know, wherever we're at in our careers or in our businesses. And when we learn how to handle stress, when we learn how to handle obstacles and begin to see every single thing that is in front of us as an opportunity, and not let the stress override everything that is wanting to, you know, the information or the obstacles that our mind is trying to help us to overcome. When we're sitting in this fight or flight, you know, emotional response, when stress comes up or if we're faced with an obstacle, it literally prevents us from truly being able to sit and listen to becoming bigger. And when I say bigger, I mean our mind becoming bigger than the specific problem, or obstacle that we're facing. So yeah, it's kind of like, and then when we think of stress affecting our bodies, or when we think of obstacles affecting our bodies, it's like when we learn how to navigate these emotions and become very grounded in whatever way, we can definitely go through some tools and that sort of thing as well through this, through this conversation right now. But in terms of like everything that is coming up for each person on an individual level, it's really about how are you navigating these obstacles, and what is your natural response when you're faced with a problem or with something that seems a spanner in the works. And it's like when you can learn how to work with your body, when you can learn how to work with whether it is stress, whether it's confusion, whether it's depression or anxiety or any of those emotions that are very, very present for, I'm going to say like the majority of people at the moment, that's a pretty bold thing to say right now.
Yeah.
And when we can learn to come into, our heart, when we can learn to come into our breath, and when we can truly learn what it is for us as individuals and as leaders and as, businesswomen, as business owners, as people seeking new opportunities in their careers, whatever it is, when we can learn that everything is going to, has a solution. Everything has a solution. And when we remember that, and regardless of what's in front of us, and we can come back to that remembrance or that knowing, or simply deciding that whatever is going on right now for us, there is a solution, and letting that teach us how to find our center, find our grounding, find our state of calm, and whatever tools we use to allow that to happen and to get into that state. Then that's such a, that can be such a personal journey for each and every individual, but there is definitely a solution, to find a solution for every single person. So yeah, and it's kind of like an overview.
Yeah.
It's what I've been noticing at the moment. Yeah.
So talking about solutions then, Libby, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. But what if, there'll be some people out there right now who are thinking, I don't know what the solution is. So if you're in that space, how do you use, what tools are they to even think of or even look for a solution? Because from what you're saying, it seems you need to have a solution before you can work on your mindset. So what about the people who don't feel that they don't have the solution right now?
This is such a beautiful question. And one of the things that we were speaking about it before, Leena, as well, of like the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. Now, whether anyone tuning in has been on a personal development journey, or this is the first time that you've learned or that you've even heard of this concept of being able to find a solution to something that seems so unsolvable. It seems like the world's worst problem right now, and you can't see a solution. You don't even know that there is an opportunity to find or seek another way around it, which is, very, very, very present for so many of us and, in the whole world at the moment. And so one of the biggest things that we can begin to do is asking ourselves, it's like, what am I choosing to do about this right now? And we can go and approach these situations that we're finding ourselves in from a place of, I'm just going to allow myself to sit in this mess, and I'm going to sit in this mess and it's going to be really awful. And I'm going to sit in this mess and it's going to be really awful because that's the only thing that I can see. Or I'm just going to plant the seed right now that, what if there was another way? What if there was another way to think? What if everything that you knew there's an opportunity right now for you to change the things that you don't like about your life, about your job, about anything that you're not happy with? What if there's an opportunity right now? And one of the greatest things that we can be doing is simply asking questions. Yeah. And that is one of the greatest shifts that we can go from, like, thinking that our life right now, our business, our job, our relationships, our health is as it is right now and there's no way of changing it. Or what if there was a way? What if there was a way that this tiny little whisper inside you is going, is this it? Is this really all it's about? Is this really what I'm finding myself facing right now and there's no way out of it?
Yeah.
what if there is another way? What if you have the opportunity right now to see things in a different way? What if you were able to put yourself in someone else's shoes? What if you were able to really begin to just open and unlock that piece of you that was so present when you were a young child, where your imagination ruled the show? You know, what if you were able to unlock that piece of you once again and just ask these questions of yourself of what if there was another way of thinking? What if I could actually choose how to see the situation right now?
Yeah.
And depending on how far deep in the problem or in the obstacle you are, your ego and your mind might be like, shut up, Libby, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, like that's what the ego does. It's like, don't tell me that there's another way. And I've been here myself, like so many times, and it still creeps in for all of us, right? And so when we just give ourselves this level of like glimpse of what we each have inside of us, and ask these questions of possibility of, is it really possible to think a different way, to ask different questions, to begin to see that maybe there is another way out. And it doesn't need to be like a total life transformation overnight, or a total business transformation overnight, or overcoming the obstacle right now. All it requires is this being open to, well, if I don't like where I am right now, who's gonna help me get out of this? We can either sit and wait for someone to help us get out of it, which I don't want to be the bearer of not so great news, but that's not really going to happen. You know, it is truly up to us to make that decision to go, well, okay, I can either sit here and mull in it, or just listen to that tiny little whisper of possibility that each and every one of us have, if we choose to hear it and find it and listen for it. Yeah, I hope that answers that.
Most definitely. And it's so interesting that you talk about the child elements in it. You know, it seems that the more life experiences that we have, the more that our childhood dreams get suffocated. But what's your opinion on the impact of trauma that can have? What impact can trauma have on your mindset now? So if you've had past trauma, how is it impacting your mindset now? And how can you relieve your mindset of that and almost break out that cage, if you like?
This is such a deep question. And in answering this, I really want to make it known, like I'm speaking from personal experience and from the limited understanding that I have of the depth of trauma that we have in the planet and each individual carries. So I'm personally speaking from my own experience, from my own understanding of trauma, with my small degree in psychology, and this is going to be different for each and every one of you. So whether you're listening to this and you know that you carry trauma or not, I really invite you to just come into this and receive what is going to be of benefit to you, and just ask questions about anything else. Just disregard anything that you're like, I don't agree with that. That is totally okay, because it's such trauma, when we're dealing with trauma, is such a personal, unique thing for every single individual. But when we look at it in terms of a mindset thing, it's almost like how I sort of bring a little bit of open-mindedness. I invite everyone to have a little bit of open-mindedness to everything that I'm bringing about, because I even having gone through psychology, gone through mindset, really begun to look at everything, I can no longer look at ourselves as simply the mind. I really begin to invite everyone that I'm working with, when they come to me to work on their mindset, to go deeper, to work on their emotions, to begin to look at their heart and their soul. And when we are born as children, we have these incredible loving parents, hopefully most of us do, where the parents intend to love us. And we have these, this way of being in life. And every single time that we as children, between the developmental years, when our brains are formulating, the right pathways, the neurological pathways to be deciding, how to be human, how do I navigate this world, how do I navigate this life? And so we look to those around us, we look to wherever our upbringing is, and those around us, and we begin to absorb every single thing that happens. And so if, as a child, we are in an environment or in a situation where any piece of us is feeling, I like to call it like not loved, or not okay, or not safe, We begin to develop a response in a way that allows us to be safe, to be accepted, to be loved, so that we're not judged or not rejected. Or, you know, we think back to long time ago when we were cavemen, right? We wanted to make sure that we fitted in. We wanted to make sure that our tribe wasn't going to leave us. And our bodies are still very much made up a very similar, the same way. Effectively, we've obviously evolved a lot, but at the core of it, that's what's happening. And so as we are experiencing these situations, and we're developing this way of being, this mask, or this shell around us to protect us in the world, so that we are able to survive, that we are able to, you know, be loved and be liked and not be rejected. And I mean, this is just the core of it. Now, along the pathway, so many of us, in fact, I've never met a human to this date who has not experienced some form of trauma in their life. And that's a pretty huge thing to consider when we are looking at this situation that we've got going on in the world right now, realizing that every single one of us is carrying pain of some sort. And so when we look at changing our mindset, it also comes down to remembering that it is about us. It is about our personal journey, not about anyone else. I think that's really, really important to remember, because often when we've got these pieces of us that are so painful, that they're so below the surface, we don't even know that they're there, it can be very easy to want to ignore them. For me, I ignored them through addiction. I was drinking, I was partying, I was taking drugs, I was doing like just these, I was not living a great life. I had a seemingly positive mindset. However, my response to trauma was to avoid it. And so what did that do? That limited me and kept me going back into these situations that would just have these trauma stories playing out. You know, I'd find myself back in the situation that my brain thought was safe. My brain thought, you know, if I go out drinking, or if I go out partying, or if I just, you know, have a whole bunch of wine, I'm going to ignore everything, and it's going to be much better. And that's how I will cope. That's how I will cope with being human. That's how I will cope with these situations and these obstacles in life. So when we begin to look at all of these pieces under the surface of our mind, our subconscious, that we carry in our body, in our state of being, in every single place that we show up, every relationship that we have, every job that we have, every situation we find ourselves in, these traumas, or these subconscious patterns, I don't want to say traumas, but the subconscious patterns that we all hold, that's what's making our decisions for us. That's what's keeping us, you know, either in a growth mindset, or keeping us small and keeping us safe. And so when we can look at it's almost like when I work with my clients on this, and I've developed this method, and I call it the quantum abundance method. And what it looks at is, most of us have goals, right? And I assume that everyone tuned into this conversation, you're somewhere where you know that you've got more potential within you. You know that there's more for you right now, okay? And so when we look at if we're over here, we might be at like point A, and we're wanting to get to point B. So point A is where we are, and B is our goal. What we don't realize is that quite often the reason that so many people don't actually end up getting to B is because there is this middle piece here. I call it like there's 3 layers. This middle layer here is our subconscious programming. It's the trauma. It's the emotions. It's the subconscious limiting beliefs that are telling us we're not good enough. Who are you to do that? Who are you to go after that job? Who are you to start that business? Who are you to, you know, work on your health in that way? Whatever it is. And so in order to truly expand and get, you know, go to those places that in your soul, that whisper that you have inside of you is saying, like, go for it, go for that job, go for that, starting that business, you know, and ask for the pay rise, all of these different things that we desire from our hearts. The only reason, the thing that stops us or limits us from actually saying yes to that and doing whatever it takes to make that happen is that subconscious layer where often these traumas that we ignore are hiding. let me know if you've got questions on this, because this is like such a massive topic, and I want to make sure that this is relevant to everyone who's going to be tuning in. So yeah, feel free to
Libby, you're totally, I mean, I'm listening and I'm like, I want to empathize this to anyone who's listening. People, don't ever underestimate the what she's talking about right now, the childhood trauma, like these things that are in your way. Because literally the people who get through that or over that, whatever way you want to call that, they are the ones who reach their goals from A to B, as you said, Libby. But I wanted to ask you though, is this what you're doing with your clients? Because earlier you shared that you help people reach six-figure income, and you yourself are reaching that position. And I'm sure that some of the people who would be listening to us today, they would be interested in hearing maybe some of the secret tips that you give to your clients. What do you do with them so that they can reach this number?
I love this so much. And I'm gonna bring it in here as well, of like, it's very easy for us to go, cool, I want to make six figures, I want to have, 5-figure months, like that feels really, really cool. What I have learned and noticed and observed throughout my own business journey and of supporting others as well, is that most people actually don't want the money. And I know that sounds really crazy, right? Yes, they want the money, but what they actually want is what that money brings them. And one of the biggest things that I work with my clients on, and one of the reasons that they come to me, is most of them have worked on their mindset. Most of them have a certain level of remembering that they are, here for a bigger purpose than themselves. And so I go through this process, and it's funny, it was called the business biology method, but there are so many different layers, and I'm actually in the process of changing the name because it's really fun anyway, but I'll share the basics with you. And so what it does is it goes through this process of helping someone to find their true purpose. Okay, so their true purpose in life, their true purpose as to why they even have the business in the first place. And I truly believe that the direction that humanity is going is one of purpose. I feel like right at this moment in time, so many people are going, well, okay, that job that I had that I know that I don't have anymore, did I actually even really like that? Or this business that I've started that, is kind of not really working out right now for me because of, this global situations. Did I actually really enjoy that? Do I actually want to spend my life doing that? And for most people, that is far more important than the six figures, than the money, than the financial abundance. And so by going through that and helping people align with what actually fires them up, what actually helps you to connect with that passion that you have, that each and every one of us have, if we go through this process of knowing that we are so powerful as human beings, that we have so much potential when we give ourselves permission to even ask these questions of if it's possible for us, right? Going back to earlier in the conversation. And so when we can go through this process of working on our mindset, working on our physical body as well, we're not just, it's not just our mind, really beginning to bring our health and our physical well-being into our growth journey, into our business journey. The next part of that as well, I call it the mind, body, soul. Money is a byproduct of that.
Yeah, right.
When we can align with our purpose and really begin to connect with a positive growth mindset that says, yes, you can do it. Yes, if you believe in yourself, absolutely you can. The next piece of that, working with your body, under that comes the emotions. And, again, mostly women, I notice men are able to manage their emotions a lot more. We won't go today into that suppression of that sort of thing, but working with our emotions, especially as women, is so important, because if we don't learn how to work with our emotions, that will often, in what I've experienced and what I see in my clients, that can be the determining factor as to whether someone is able to easily create six figures or not. Whether they're easily able to begin to step into the next level of their business or not. And then the last piece of that is knowing that through service and through connecting with that passion that we all have in us somewhere, we all have it. And when we can do that, literally money is a byproduct of that. there are a couple of other layers that we go through as well. I mean, I've got so many different tools, and the way that I actually learned this and developed this and began to like even bring these methods to life was by accident. It was a mistake. I didn't mean to make lots of money. I didn't mean to help people find their purpose. It was so organic. And when I began sharing that, for me, it was my healing journey, actually healing my trauma, healing not just my addiction, but the root causes of my addiction. And it was through that process of working with my body, working with my mindset, working with the person that I wanted to become. I wasn't happy where I was, and I wanted to become a better version of myself. So I chose that one day at a time, literally every single day. And then on that, I began to open up to the possibility that we are more than just physical bodies. We are more than just a mind and emotions and bodies and on this planet. And I began to connect with the piece of us that connects us all, that we all have. And whether you're open to this right now or not, I might just be planting seeds and you might be having a lot of resistance right now. That's perfect. It's absolutely beautiful, by the way. And connecting with that piece of us, that part of us that is connected to a greater purpose, to a greater mission. When I began to do that, my number one priority in life was to help myself first, heal from my addiction. And I just wanted to help people. I was like, if I can do this, anyone can. I truly believe that every single one of us has a story, that every single one of us has something that we are so passionate about, either from our own experiences or that we see as solutions in the world. And when we can get really, just really tapped into that piece of us that knows that we are literally capable of anything, and we show up and work on that belief system, mind, body, soul. One of my mentor, actually, mine and Leena's mentor as well, she teaches this full body belief system, which is working with our whole body, our whole holistic being, to really step into the six-figure, she talks about six-figure months. I'm working with six-figure years still. We just had a little joke about that before the conversation. But when we begin to truly know with our mind, with our heart, and with our body, with our gut, that these goals that we have are totally possible, and we work with ourselves in a very holistic way, we literally, for me, it's like, how come we have learned our entire lives that we've got to work so hard to earn more money? What my process has been, and what I teach my clients, is how to unhook from all of that societal conditioning, or the way that we've been brought up to believe things, to actually allow ourselves to show up in joy, to show up in love and in trust, and just have these amazing lives that, regardless of what we have been through, regardless if we find ourselves in these bouts of depression or anxiety, we choose and ask these questions to go, well, how can I get out of this? How can I choose differently? How can I step into a different way of being? And piece by piece by piece by piece by piece, and day by day by day, we literally begin to just open up to this life and this way of being, of running our business, that we're not taught at school. We're not taught it at university. I studied economics at university as well. I did not learn that you could enjoy life more and make more money. That's not what we were taught at all. So yeah, I hope that answers the question a little bit.
It does. It does. I have the feeling that if we keep asking questions to Libby, Leena, we're going to have to pay her.
It's really, what I really want to ask you, Libby, is as working as a recruiter, I speak to people all the time, every day. We speak to kind of 50 to 60 candidates per day, and everybody's got a different story. Everybody's got it's almost like they have a mindset that I feel they need to start dissecting and almost destructing, because they have a different mindset about what job they want, how much money they want to earn, what the benefits will be. Do I get a car? Do I get fuel allowance? And I feel like what people are doing now is almost asking the wrong questions. And it's really I know this is really recruitment orientated, but I just think it's really interesting to discuss this, because I feel like if you're looking for a new job, or you're thinking that the job you have at the moment isn't your passion or your purpose, then instead of asking how much money are you paid, what are the benefits, what are my working hours, what do I get in return, that you almost need to start asking some different questions. And you can only ask different questions with a different mindset.
Yes.
So, you know, for me, I feel like candidates need to start asking questions like, what company do I want to work for? You know, what's their mission? What do I want to align myself to, so I can really create some impact and change in the world? And then, like you said, you know, the money will be a byproduct of coming with that number one, and that being your sole mission is go and find the company, go and find the purpose of that company. And I'm not saying that candidates have to be passionate about a certain product or a service that company sells. It's not really about that, but it's about, you know, do they have any philanthropic aims and goals that you could get passionate about? Align your objective of getting a job with something other than money, because the money will come if you get passionate about the objective first. Would you what's your comments on my thoughts there?
Yes, I love this question so much. And it's like, it's similar to like what, you know, Karlina, you're all about the impact side of things as well. And like, that's something that I literally like created my business on, is purpose, self-wealth, and impact. And the impact is such an important pillar of our lives as humans, whether you're a business owner or you're working for someone else. And it's like, when we can connect with this, I mean, here's a question, and I love, I asked someone a really powerful question today, and she messaged me and she goes, I was literally in tears from that question that you just asked me. And I truly believe that when we begin to ask ourselves questions, we can really have this power of going, you know, like, oh my God, there's so much more available. Now, the question that I want to ask is, if someone is asking those questions of what's the pay, what, you know, do I get a car, what's the benefit, all of these things, I'm going to ask the question, are you happy? You know, are you happy? And be really brutally honest with yourself. And if your answer isn't yes, if your answer is like, you know, no, which so many people, and I you know, I speak with so many people that it's like, in fact, you know, in fact, it baffles me when I find out how many people aren't happy. They're truly not happy with their lives, and they're chasing this money and job to pay for, you know, a mortgage for a really big house, or nice shoes, or, you know, a really nice car. And it's like, well, but are you happy? And so when you can connect with that and let yourself really honestly answer that, and this question is designed to perhaps trigger some people. It might bring up you know, a lot of emotion, and that's okay. This is where change begins to happen. And when we can ask these questions of, well, okay, what would make me happy? And you ask that question, what would make you happy? What actually fills you up? When was the last time you were happy? You know, and I've asked this question to people in their 60s and 70s before, and they've been like, oh, wow. And we've realized that the last time that they were truly happy was a very, very, very long time ago. And so each and every one of us right now, like, coming back to this, what are we actually contributing for? What are we actually, like, what's our purpose here right now? And when we can let joy and happiness be our driving, motivating factor for the reason that we get out of bed each morning, not going to a job because someone tells us that we have to. I mean, I remember so much, you know, before I was running my own business, when I was in the corporate world, I would take pay cuts sometimes. If I wasn't happy with a position, I would go somewhere else and take a pay cut, you know. But it was like that service and that impact and that way of showing up, is it in alignment with what creates or what brings you happiness, what brings you joy? How do you serve? How do you want to serve? What impact do you want to leave in the planet? So yeah, I could go on. This is like, I'm very passionate about that.
There's so much more we could ask you for sure, but I'm hoping that we can get like a second follow-up, hopefully Facebook Live next time as well. But it's been an absolute pleasure to have you today, Libby. Thank you so much for your time. Like, the wealth of knowledge you've brought today has just been phenomenal. I know that you will have touched and impacted so many people's lives. That anybody who's watching this on, whether it's our YouTube channel or Facebook, you know, do comment below, and if there's any questions that you have for Libby, do comment below and we will get those questions answered for you. Or feel free to connect with Libby on Facebook. She has a Facebook page, and I'm sure that she will accept any friend requests as long as you said you watched this video today. So thank you so much for your time today, Libby. Really, really appreciate you. Any closing thoughts?
You've got this. You know, like, if you're here, if you're watching this, and if you're wondering if you can change your mindset, you've just sat here and listened to this. You've got this. Like, yeah, and thank you so much for this conversation, and to everyone tuning in as well. Like, you truly do. If you're here and if you're committed to expanding and to growing, there is a piece of you that is ready for whatever is on the other side of your next your next level of growth. So yeah,
thank you so much, Libby, for sharing so openly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.